Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and I'm joined today by another patriot who knows and understands the criminal mind, this time from the law enforcement side of things. If you saw my conversation with Matt Cox, who was actually on the FBI's most wanted list at one time, well, you're going to love our guest today, James Finch. James was on the other side of the aisle from Matt. He's a former deep cover FBI agent who posed for 2 years as a high-level drug trafficker. He served as the head of the FBI's cyber division before retiring in 2015, and he has gone on, along with Matt, to have a very successful career in information security and is now working to help average Americans avoid a rapidly growing problem in our country, which is home title theft. Now, we're all online together, and I want us all to be safe, so I've invited James to come on in and help us out here. So, James, it's great to have you. Could you tell us a bit about your background and how you got into stopping title theft?
Well, it's kind of interesting. When I was still in the FBI, this was really not as big of a problem, but with the digitization of many of our public documents and the Freedom of Information Act, commonly known as the Open Records Act in many places, many of our documents are publicly available. And as you well know, millions of people are scammed they're victims of numerous scams, confidence scams, real estate fraud scams, all sorts of scams. And the internet has only become a vehicle to make that easier. And so when I look at real estate fraud, this is one of those frauds that has numerous elements, such as home title theft. And because home title theft is something most of us don't pay much attention to, however, the average American with a home has a home title, and it's usually stored by the county recorder's office. And in order for a fraudster to actually take your home's title and transfer it to his name requires a forged document and a signature with a notarization and submitting it to the county. The county's job is to examine that document, which is called a quitclaim deed, which you can download on the internet. This quitclaim deed, the county recorder's office examines it for completeness. It's not their job to question the authenticity of it. They look at the notary stamp and they make a determination, basically, whether all the spaces have been filled. Once all the spaces have been filled, by statute, they have to file that document. Once that document is filed, that home is no longer yours. It is in the name of whatever name the bad guy has put it in, either his own or a fictitious name, which is usually the case. And that's when, say, identity theft comes into place. But that home is now no longer in the homeowner's name. And the homeowner is none the wiser because the homeowner is not notified when these documents are actually filed. So,
please go.
So this is something I became aware of after leaving the FBI on the proliferation of this problem. And most people don't give it much thought because it's a home. They think, well, how can someone steal my home? Especially if I have a mortgage on it, which doesn't really save you, because with a mortgage on a home, the bad guy just files another false document known as a satisfaction of mortgage document, which is what we all get when we pay off our home. And that is one is sent to the bank and one is sent to the homeowner. Well, when you are a criminal, you give an address where the homeowner never receives this. It just goes to that fictitious address. And at that point, your home is, quote, free and clear of any mortgage. And at that point, the bad guy starts to drain your home of any equity
Adding equity, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And what I found so fascinating with this crime, horribly fascinating, was like you said, it's something you don't know. You're none the wiser when it happens. You don't find out about this until months later when the bank's ready to foreclose on your loan because you haven't been paying off of all of these deposit or withdrawals, as it were, that the criminal is taking off of the equity of your house. I mean, so they can commit the crime, and nobody even knows a crime's been committed for another several months.
Several months, and unfortunately, by that time, the bad guy is long gone.
Long gone.
And for someone who has gone through numerous homes, and so I've had sort of a close relationship with my titles fairly frequently. Most people don't move as often, don't go to the closing table as often, and have no reason to really check the status of their home's title.
Right. How many? Do you have an estimation of how many Americans have experienced this?
Well, it's interesting because when you look at this as a cyber crime, last year, for example, or in 2022, there was a report of probably 11,500 cyber crime related real estate frauds. That's not counting the real estate fraud that is just your typical white collar crime fraud. And under that, you have things like impersonation, which is certainly something that is done in home title theft, forgery, which is also an element of home title theft. So when I hear this referred to as a cyber crime, to me, cyber crime is just an element, more of a vehicle to facilitate the crime.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at that 11,500, these are reported victims. There are victims who report the crime. There are many victims who don't report it due to embarrassment, due to civil settlements. So many of these crimes go unreported. And I hate to really classify this as a pure cyber crime, because cyber is truly just an element of it. It is a good old-fashioned scam.
It's a good old-fashioned, that involves real estate.
It involves real estate, forgery, impersonation, identity theft. Yes.
Right. And I guess the cyber crime gives it that sort of sleek espionage feel, but in the end, this is robbing grandma of her house, for heaven's sakes. It's just
yes, and someone usually has to physically go to the county recorder's office to actually pull off this scam, which is how organizations do it. I don't know if you have paid attention to the news. Channel 4 recently reported in Broward County, it's been a couple weeks ago, where a home theft ring consisting of 12 people had stolen over 14 homes through home title theft.
Wow.
And amassed over $12 million.
Wow.
And they were only caught because the bad guy had the right address, but was 1 block away from the house he and she were supposed to be at that time. So had they gone to the correct house, they would probably still be stealing home titles.
Well, so you've seen this from behind the scenes, as it were. You know how the sausage is made.
That is
how
correct.
Does law enforcement treat these criminals? They're obviously very sophisticated, but are they a priority? How is law enforcement treating this?
And in this case with Broward County, it was Broward County law enforcement. And in many cases, it is going to be a local law enforcement until the FBI gets involved. And
so the FBI is not even looking. This is a county level crime in effect.
When it starts involving, because many of these people, the actual crime rings do it throughout the United States. They hit multiple states, and at that point, it becomes a matter the FBI is involved in. So I just mentioned this one because it was so recent, within the past couple of weeks.
Right.
And Broward County is, or Florida in general, they seem to have a lot of home title theft, as well as California and several other places throughout the United States.
Right. Right.
But behind the scenes, in terms of how this is treated as a priority, law enforcement is forced, due to limited resources, to prioritize all crimes. This isn't considered a violent crime or a crime where physical force is used. And there are plenty of those types of crimes out there for law enforcement to focus on. I am not going to say this is the lowest priority in law enforcement's basket of priorities, but it's certainly not near the top.
Right. Right.
And the time that a victim spends trying to figure out who's going to unwind this is more time the bad guy has to get away, so to speak.
Right. 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 Yeah, it has a bizarre optic element to it as well, and that something's been stolen, but it doesn't change location. The house is still there. It's still in the original. So you almost have to think abstractly about a change in ownership and the like, how it was actually stolen. So whereas if it's a car or anything else, it just seems like there's a definite visual representation of what happened. Something got taken away from you physically.
Well,
yeah, please.
I was going to say, well, if it's a car, it's much more difficult to transfer your car's title to someone than it is to transfer your home's title to someone.
Wow. Wow, that's a comparison. I remember asking Matt, on a scale 1 to 10, how easy is this? 10 being the hardest, and he just chuckled and he said, "It's a 1. This is 1 or 2 for."
Most definitely. You go to try to transfer your car's title, they're going to want to see a bill of sale or an agreement of some kind. They're going to want to see a notarized document. They're going to require your driver's license. Those are all things to transfer your car's title. Plus, you can't access your car's title on the online.
Right. Right. It's crazy. So, all right. So obviously the deeds to our homes are very exposed online. So what are some of the best practices to prevent title theft and respond to title theft here?
The best practices by far is monitoring of some kind. If you have the opportunity to visit your county clerk's office on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis to check the status of your home's title, to determine whether it's been changed or not. And you don't have to physically go there. You could pull it up online to see if it's actually been altered in some form or fashion. However, with our busy daily lives, most people will not do that. And monitoring is the key. Without that, it's going to be, quote, catch as catch can. And by the time you realize it, or when the local or the county sheriff comes knocking at your door to evict you out of your own home because liens on your home have not been paid, at that point, it's too late. Now attorneys have to become involved. Law enforcement may become involved. However, law enforcement is not going to assist you with straightening this out. So monitoring, in my personal opinion, which is why I really started doing this, because what I hope to accomplish here is to inform the public, because most people don't realize this.
No idea. Yeah.
If they are informed, they can make a decision as to whether they want to monitor their home's title, and how they want to do it. But at least I hope this informs the public. I spent 34 years trying to protect the interests of U.S. citizens, and I don't really want to stop now. And if by doing this, I can make them aware that monitoring their home's title will actually save probably their most expensive investment from being stolen from under them, then it's all worth it.
Wow. Well, there you go, gang. That's astonishing stuff. I was so excited to have James come on here because I want all of us to be safe and secure. And that's where James and Home Title Lock come in. So, gang, make sure to click on that link below and sign up with them today. We all need to take action for our homes, for our loved ones, and no one does that better than Home Title Lock. James, thank you so much for being with us and informing us on these matters. They're really serious stuff, and I can't thank you enough for helping to make us more secure.
Well, Dr. Steve, I certainly hope your viewers know that Home Title Lock provides a monitoring service that monitors their home's title 24/7 and will notify them of any change that may occur to their home's title at the moment it occurs. Right. And if for any reason the bad guys actually compromise that title, Home Title Lock has title specialists who will work with them to unwind this problem and get their home's title back into their name.
That's the two things I got to say I love about Home Title Lock is one, that crime that usually takes months to figure out it happened. You find out about it instantly because of the monitoring. And then secondly, if it happens, you're not alone. You've got an advocate. You've got somebody there who's going to walk you through this.
It's like having a barrier around your home's title 24/7. And they have proprietary software that monitors this, and any change whatsoever to that home's title, whether it's made by the homeowner or by a bad guy, the homeowner will be notified.
Wow. So cool. I love it. Gang, click on that link. Yeah, it's this is your opportunity. Do not have something horrible to happen to you, only to regret that you didn't do something about it when you could have. So make sure to click on that link and work with Home Title Lock. James Finch, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing and continue to do.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Steve.
My pleasure.